So yes, people do have unit test cases, and depending on as if you're applying for any, I could say, more than a medium-sized project, they, more than I would say more than 80% of chances are there like they will be have some kind of unit test running.
Yeah.
Like in small project, we usually don't, but usually it's right. So even if you don't know, you can tell if you don't know, but you should be aware about basic like how testing is done. Okay. So okay. So today we will be. You can see my Chrome screen and my VS Code as well, right? Both the thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the okay. Let me delete everything. Okay, so for today, we will be just learning about the scopes and variable, right? So there are many output questions that usually people ask in an interview or on an online assessment way, sort of to check like how clear you are on the concept, right? Sometimes they get very tricky, but usually does not ask though much of tricky question, but it's just to get your head wrapped around the concept of like scope, right? Okay. Okay, right. So let's suppose first like means okay. So I guess you already heard about or maybe know about that. You write everything in. It would be very quicker if I have index JS, right? And I have to start. Okay, that's fine. And let me also serve this. So we have something running. Okay, so you must have heard about let, var, and const. Like these are three things we define a variable with, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, fine. And you also not sure how you have given interview or not. There is also a concept is asked very much frequently is the question basically I would say about hoisting.
Hoisting.
Have you heard this term?
No.
Okay. So
Straightforward.
okay, so we will cover both. So basically, mostly these are around the scopes, right? So we will cover that. Okay. So first of all, uh, uh, like with the introduction of ES6, right? You know about ES6, right? ES6 is a version of like you can say like we yesterday we
Like
told that
math
is it
script of
right. It's not remember the date, but around 2015, 2015, not exact about the date. Sorry, ES5, not sure, ES6, right? So before that, what was happening was if you see any old application, everything was var, right? Uh, so var is like just to have a variable, right? Uh, so um, have you worked any other programming language earlier? The same question. Any,
Oh, other programming languages? No.
right?
Just the
In
JavaScript.
okay, okay, okay. In college, anything like that?
Oh,
Okay,
in college, C and the Java.
okay, right. So in C and Java or anything, so at any programming language, we need to store some kind of variables, right? First of all things, right? So variable is just to store any value. Maybe we are getting a value from the API. Maybe we are storing or maybe we are computing a value, right? So for that, we generally call it a variable, right? So to store something, right? So now like yesterday I told you JS is a single threaded language, right? There is only one thread, there is no multi-threading. JS is also synchronous language. I will write down because maybe I said. So what first is single threaded. It's a synchronous language. What I mean, and it's interpreted, not compiled. Like these terms, you already know. Any question on these, right? No question, right?
No question on that.
Okay, synchronous means line by line. There is no skipping of line, right?
Yes.
But usually people ask this question mostly about synchronous is like what people will write. Like in JS, we have a callback, right? But in callback sense, the previous line got executed before the next line. So this can happen. But usually because how the JS is been executing, but JS always execute line by line. So first line will execute first, then second line and third line. And interpreted, I already, it's not compiled. So there is one more term now is called loosely typed. Right? Have you heard this term?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so loosely typed, like sure you pardon for my spelling. That's why if you want to use, you can use this plugin, right? So it's very handy even. Okay. So in Java, I guess you declare int as an integer and everything, right? So before that, before ES6, what was happening? Everything was var. So if I have to var a equal apple, right? Everything was var. Now with ES6, after ES6, we introduce two more things, that is let and const. So we have let be equal, and then we have a const. Let's see equivalent maybe then cat. Okay, so right. So you remember this term also in interview. Mostly people might ask loosely type because we are not declaring a type, right? Okay. Now what? So these are now these are three types or three way you can declare a variable, right? With var, with let, and const. Okay. Now usually what is being asked is how these three differ is a scope, right? Because why we need let, why we need const? If everything is being handled by var, why they have introduced let and const? There must be something because they have introduced something, right? Without reason, there is nothing. Okay, you understand this, right? Yeah. So this is about mostly about scope. Okay. So okay. So let me log something. Maybe I will have it. Okay. Now to also know the scope, there is one more trick you can know. So let me reload this. Okay, now first of all, I guess English, you know about scope is like what is the scope of this variables simply means like what is my scope, or maybe some like maybe in English you can ask like as in challenge someone, like what is the scope means how much you can access something, right? That is a general meaning of scope. In the same way, the variable a and b c has some scope, meaning they are not global. If I say if I open a new tab and I wanted to log something, like I wanted to log a, it will not log that, right? Because it is not defined in this scope, right? Because it does not have even reference to this. So this scope is just meaning from where to where we can use that. Okay. Right. So usually scope, we have scope is called something global scope and local scope. usually we have this. There is also lexicon scope, but we will not, we will cover more when we deal about bind, call, apply the method. Okay, so here you see there is a scope in a debugger, right? Okay, so this is scope. So if you see B and C are declared where in a script scope, basically it's only limited to the script tag, or maybe just that. But A, if you see A is in a global scope. Okay, right? So this is a main difference that people mostly ask, and depend on this also mostly questions are also built. Okay, this much is clear. So we have three things, B and C, and where is locally global scope, global, and this is mostly local scope, right? And maybe local scope, you can say anything inside the curly braces is a local scope. Very simple. If you remember this thing, anything inside curly braces is a local scope. Half of your output question will be solved easily. Okay, just remember this. Anything inside this is in is scope of that B. And like as we move also on, we will mostly what developer uses sources and application tab mostly, right? And you deal with application tab more if you are developing a PWA, but sources is something you will be always be dealing. And other tab we discuss memory tab, right? This is been only, you get to this tab only if you're you are very conscious about performance, right? Or you have some problem in your application, it's leaking. You might have seen some, if you visit some pages, Chrome will throw you in a warning, unresponsive page, oh snap. Have you seen that?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay. Okay, no, so I'm not have any website that display this. So basically, when what happened, Chrome has any browser has a limited memory given by system also, and they have some checks also. Like if a browser is not behaving, like you must have seen if we on Windows or any if you have ever used Windows, so if you close some application, sometimes it's called unresponsive thing, right? It's not responding. So basically, the same thing happens with a Chrome, any browser. If it's not bad, it's a bad website, then it's happened. Then we deal with the memory tab. So for now, we will be very much focused on sources tab, and we will deal everything like how these breakpoints and scope. So this is a scope, right? Now what I will do, so this is all three things. Now, second question people ask, okay, it makes sense. Where is in global scope, let and cost in a local scope, right? But why two name? Why let and cost? Why these? Right? Right? We could have only let, right? So the only problem is it's we can we reassign is possible, right? But here no reassign is possible. Okay. Right. Moreover, if I do like let's say const d, right? See the even the VS Code is showing me warning, right? Const declaration must be initialized. Though it's not in warning, it's just in warning. There will be nothing impacted on our application. So if I see there is nothing application, no error, anything. If you see the code, there is a D. Okay, it's not saved. Reload this. Right, there is a D. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, it's by default taking is in a strict mode. Okay, so basically D is something we can't reassign value, right? Because it's a constant. That's fine, right?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. But then there is a tricky question. If we have a D as an object and like name as an dog, for example. Now, if I want to do D dot name equals to Jerry, let me just console D as well. Yeah. Now this is perfectly fine. Okay. See, name is being changed to Jerry.
Jerry.
But why this is? Because we say no reassign is possible. Okay. Meaning if I do something like, if I do D equal, maybe new dog, I will name B. Shepherd, for example. Okay, so this will throw an error because I can't reassign this. This see, type error assignment to const variable, right? So this also, please remember this also, because mostly people do also ask this question. So only reassign is not possible. You can do anything with that. Okay. Oh, okay. And reassign simply means you can't do D equal. Everything is possible. So this pretty much about till now. Now we will have a more depth on scope, then we will have some output questions. So simply scope means like if I have an let me have a function, okay, and if I have a, for example, right, I return, for example, okay, let me do it. If you don't know anything, you can ask me in between. You know about the backtick, right? I guess. What is that backtick?
Backtick is like it takes like not a string, but it takes like a variable.
Right. Yeah, it can take a variable. So basically, we call it an interpolation. If you write this down, so in many languages, it's there already. So it's basically we can declare a variable and we can have multi-line also. We don't have. So basically, what happens? I will before the introduction of template. This was also introduced in ES6. So remember this also. So this was in ES6. But before ES6, it was how we have to do. We have to do salutation plus, and we first space, then we have a user, right? So this does not look good, right? Because we have too many plus sign, and just to add in space, we had two spaces here. So that's why this was introduced, and this is now here. As in 10, like the scope of any variable is just the curly braces, right? So sal is just defined till the here, and if I do anything with log sal, so here sal is not defined. So okay, so we will see like undefined here. Sal is not defined, right? Okay, because it's only live till there. And let me also show you something. And we already had a breakpoint here, I guess. Okay. Okay. Now see, the scope of this is script tag A, B, C, and D, right? And the A as in global scope, right? We already talked about this. Now, what about the SAT, right? Where it stopped. Oh, okay. Okay, so this through an error. So I will share also this down. So sometimes usually people don't ask this error, but some very few people ask like what error it will throw. So you don't have to remember the reference error, but you can say Sal is not defined at till this point, so it will throw an error. So that's one thing. And now why it's not going, because I have not called this method. So let me call this great example top. Okay. Okay, so we had till this everything. Now this function has been called, so this has been called. Okay, earlier it was not. Now you can see the local scope, right? The script scope is there. Now there is also one more scope called local. Okay. Okay, because after this, because this is a local statement to this curly braces. So whatever inside this will just leave inside this. So if I go next line and next line, it will be, there will be no local scope as such. See, the local scope has been vanished, right? Yesterday, we talked about like memory leaks and garbage collection, right? If we keep on defining a variables where it will go. Now you see there is no, now as it's gone, the memory is being freed up. So that's also one very good advantage of what do we call let const or maybe scoped variables. Okay. So and the same thing happens if we have any curly braces, even if inside if, even if I do any if name, sorry, if not name, sorry, not equals to, okay, okay, let me, so const name average. Okay, just to we can do it single line just to see how it's usually works. So we will just okay. It's not okay, this okay, this one more thing. So we already called with Tom. So let's call greet without any parameter. So now we will break here.
Hello.
Yeah. So now see, now the if block is there, right? So inside you already local script global. Now there is an also called block scope. Okay, that we what we are dealing. So don't have to remember much, but just remember anything inside this curly braces in will be the scope. So if you see, this has been defined in this curly braces, right? So this default name will live only inside this. This has been defined on this curly braces, so this will live only inside this. But these are not defined into any curly braces. That's why we have a script because it's been included in script. That's why we have a script as an the scope of these variable A, B, B, C, D, right? Any doubt till one? All scope clear, var, let, const, block, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And we have so okay. Now it will me just loud that. Did you? I guess it was easy. Okay, let me also. I should have logged this. But it's easy, right, to find the what will be the output of this, right? First, it will say, "Hey Tom." Then second time, "Hey Jerry." Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. Now, I guess you already know very much, so we will not leave this. So, this was only about the scopes, right? Now, the second thing is called something has been asked in most in thing is hoisting. right? This is indirectly also related to scope only, right? So how this, what is hosting is, right? So not sure, I guess, yeah. So what happens is, let me do one. I will log a variable called user name, right? And I will have a var user name equal Ravi. Okay. Now, if you do it any other languages, mostly language, not all the languages, like but C and Java, it will throw a direct error. It will not even compile because you have to declare it first, then use. But it's not the case with JS, right? But it's also not only the case with var, so that's why I put in the var. Also, let me do one thing for now. What we will can do for hosting also. I will just copy this and I will just make a method called greetx. Hey, I will do hello, for example. Okay, great. Okay, so now, like also again coming to other programming languages, mostly I am talking about whenever I'm saying this, so mostly it's a very poor, like it's not Python, it's mostly Java and C, right? Because Python is also loosely typed and many features of JS are already there, right? But it's not the case with that. Now, if I do something like that, greet Spain, and I will like maybe I will ask I want to greet Rahul, right? And it's returning something. So let's log this. Okay. Now, do you think this will throw an error?
For the JS?
Yes. No, right? So why?
Because
Why? Yeah. Why?
because I mean it reads all the script and then it checks if there is any available
Oh no, it's not the case.
method.
No. So, we already told, right? It's an interpreted language and it's synchronous. So it's just execute line by line only. So it's execute line by line. So it's execute this line and then go to the next line. There is no, it basically it's not compiled. So ahead it can't know like the greet span will be there, right? So that's why this term is important and it's also asked in an interview, hosting. Okay. So so what happens is if I do a breakpoint here, this from here, I reload this, right? At this point of time, you see this function location is already there, right? But how it is, because uh, because in a JS, right? The declaration, right? Hosting is basically means declaration is moved to top. Okay. It just literally means only this. Only this is the concept, and you can have as many questions, like many questions are also on the hosting also. So it simply means when you run this, when this script is being run by any interpreter, all the functions, right? All the functions and the variable, right? If I do here, here on console. So I will do window dot username. See, username is there, right? But we have not reached that line yet. If you see the sources, where the username is at the very bottom of this line, right? But the value is still not there. Remember this concept. Value is still not there. If you see, value is still undefined.
Yeah.
Right. But if I go till this line, sources, if I go till this line, it will not allow me to add debugger. But let me do one thing. So for it's simply hoist for civil. Hoist is simply mean moving everything to the top. So it's move, but that's mean only declaration. But function is by default everything, right? So it's moved very top of our program or our script, and then the code is being executed. Okay. So now if I go here, if I do again this thing, window.username is still undefined. And one more question, why we are able to do window.username, but we will not be able to do window.default name, because it's in a global scope. Okay, the same thing. And if I do next line, yeah. Now if I go to console, see Ravi is there. Okay. One more thing, we usually don't, if we go more advanced, we don't use the console must. You can, what you can use is something called expressions. Here, watch expression. So if I can add, if I would have added username here, right? It will show that, right? So if you don't always have to go by, but usually previously browser does not even have these things. Now like these are there. So earlier people used to use that, so it's still there. Okay. So that's all for like theory part. Hoisting is declaration is moved to top, both function and variable, right? Okay. But there's one more special case, but with let it's not possible. It's also possible, but you will see an error. Let last name equals to AK, for example. And if I do here last name, then I will see an error, right? Okay. And the reason is because again, let is something has been introduced very late, like in ES6, right? So it has some disadvantage also. So those